Art is supposed to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Many people really are having a hard time communicating and like asking for help. Those emotions stacking and stacking just end up exploding. And when we're angry, we don't communicate well. To first really understand how we should communicate is like to really figure out what you need as a human being.
If society didn't have art, we'd probably just be apes, honestly.
Without art, I would not be happy. I don't even know what I would do.
And it's like a universal language.
It's a means of peace among people.
It can be in any form, with your hands, with your body, with paint, with clothing.
If you really love art, you'll do anything to try getting to it.
It gets to a point where it's just like there's no gap between here and here.
When I can put my emotion out there through another character, people will take comfort in that because humans are lonely.
As human beings, there's always a need to put on a facade. At NMSA, I've been able to be a bit more authentic.
Your authentic voice is really the thing that sort of triggers emotions in your audience.
Movement especially, it's inherently vulnerable. You can't fake it. You can't pretend what you're feeling because we all see it.
And we have people who aren't necessarily comfortable yet with being vulnerable, but by putting a hand out there, reaching out to them, and they're able to understand that they have a community that will support them when they feel comfortable and willing to do that.
What we do here at NMSA is we give them permission to be sloppy, to fail. We give them permission to say, that was terrible, and what did I learn from that? And to really let them be who they are. And sometimes it's scary and a little ugly, and sometimes it's just really beautiful.
I think it's really obvious when you spend a lot of time in movement that it's like one of the most honest ways of communicating that we have. You're moving your body, and what you're capable of in your body is also a depiction of your experience in your life.
There's a voice that each dancer has, and it's really inspiring to see that come out of my peers, especially when I've seen them grow up. It's beautiful.
Dance, it can portray all the beauties and struggles in life, and I find it most impactful if it has a story behind it, and every dance has a story. It can also be a way to spread awareness, talk about the past, the present, and the future.
One of the pieces that we put into winter dances this year was called The Square, and Kevin Ward choreographed that, our modern instructor. And it has to do with the bombing of Sarajevo over a decade ago. Who knew that a Russia and Ukraine invasion and refugee crisis would occur in the midst of creating this work? Obviously brought in a lot of layers of poignancy and present day experience. I mean, we're not learning, apparently.
When you're all dancing on a stage or in a community like I've danced traditionally for Coach D Feast, you're all breathing, you're all sweating together. You have to share the same mind. And what's so beautiful about it is that everybody's there for love. It's a beautiful thing.
It's very important in visual art that students have opportunities and selection to communicate what they care about. You tend to see that they're reflecting on both the world outside and the world inside and how those two things are meeting. There tend to be a number of common themes that do arise around exiting youth and moving and transitioning into adulthood. Often that's met with fear, excitement, apprehension, a great amount of nostalgia. They've been through a pandemic, they've been through isolation, a good year and a half, learning alone, maybe in their room or in their kitchens on the computer. We always coach them on being careful and holding things private when they need to and want to, But it is pretty consistent that at some point they just get really brave. They actually get more capable of speaking to their own self-healing or their own mindfulness and struggles in life.
One of my pieces for the show this year is the reflection of my own mental state, and it has a lot to do with disassociation and never being fully present. I wanted it to show the feeling of being lost in your mind, like not really seeing things so clearly because it's just so overwhelming. The neurons, those like kind of abstract blue shapes, I wanted to make those connections very weak and shattered almost to show blockage. These prompts have just helped me dig deeper into my own conflicts and find a way to articulate that is not using words.
Good.
Thank you. I love your idea.
The sort of burnout that teachers are talking about and feeling totally wiped away by the joy and the intensity of how much learning was happening in the week around install in person that we were striving and desirous of when we were remote, that we now have that. It was the antidote I didn't know I needed. I thought I just needed a week off, but I was like, no, this is magic.
Theater is so useful because it is an artistic representation of like all of the things that are going on in the world.
Where do you think they met?
On a dating app? Dating app? Because there's those like stupid apps on like TikTok where it's just like find new friends, but everyone is just like wanting to, like, you're so beautiful, and we're like, leave me alone.
Just like reiterating those messages of like, not everyone online is your friend, even if you've like shared the deepest, darkest parts of your soul to them.
Why can't you just leave that trash town and all those stupid opinions that are clearly rotting your brain? You've changed.
I'm sorry that I want to have my own life and that maybe it didn't go along with your plan.
Enforcing like, if this is happening, go to someone. What was really important to me when I was directing it is making sure that it had a meaningful message to the audience.
As a transgender man, it's really hard sometimes to portray a role and not think about how I am being perceived. Theater was the first time I got to explore presentation. It's a safe space for everyone, and it needs to be a safe space for everyone, even if that person is a person who has a different idea of a safe space than I do.
This age group, to me, is the most powerful. They are finding their voices. They're like, I get to be who I am. Because in my own hometown, my own home, my own there, I can't necessarily be who I am. But we love that. We love that we can just dig in.
When we're able to be open, we're able to create more trust. And then, you know, it's easier to be vulnerable in that space. People start talking and the conversation like actually begins.
But when you're in a place of vulnerability, you're putting your raw self, your unedited, loose, gestural view of yourself forward. Here at New Mexico School for the Arts, we're able to not feel a sense of judgment. We're able to rely on each of our peers to get through a struggle, get through an issue that we're having.
He scared those humans, but still, he wanted to go back. He needed to go back.
How they're treating their characters is really a reflection of themselves. You know, you have to be vulnerable. And just to see them on stage reading their work, that is vulnerability. That is a huge step for them.
I want the kind of man whose hands are sewn to fists, whose voice is bound to stampedes, whose voice is welded to fireworks, whose backhands are prayers.
I sink into a kaleidoscope of your body. You are shattered into a million pieces, cutting my hips.
I have 2 horns instead of a halo, and they do not glow blinding light.
Running away isn't forgetting your roots, it's making new beginnings, because when you can't find your spirit, you have to lose it more in order to guide yourself back.
Every painting, every layer that Daphne would try to place, they wouldn't work. By the end of most painting sessions, her hands would shake and her eyes would blur only a second after she cleared them from tears.
I'm learning to let other people see my work and tell me what's wrong with it. That way I can make it better. Because that's really all criticism is. It's, hey, I think this certain thing about your artwork, and if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But if you do agree with it, I'm glad I made you see it.
I think it would be really cool to like see her try to comfort him, as well as she's kind of like, what's going on in this room, you know what I mean? So that's just my opinion.
I don't know if this is an idea for a title, but would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
The dust swirls more often into the light of the afternoon sun. Wouldn't love that line.
Yeah?
A good title will do like, who's the color of dust?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whose dust is this? Don't do that one, but yeah.
Whose dust is this?
I have never met anybody who does something perfectly the first time. Practice makes improvement. We place so much emphasis in our society on perfection, and there is no such thing.
Wait, there's 3 measures of rest.
Yeah. One more time.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Growth mindset is the cornerstone, because you may not be doing something yet, but you could in about 5 minutes or in 5 days as you revise and reassess your approach or the way you hold a tool or the way you're going to lay out your designs.
That trial and error process of producing work and producing a high level of technique, you're going to get one, comfortable failing, and maybe hopefully become less self-critical when you're in that process. But also I think you can really own your successes as well, and you know what it's like to go through that process of, this isn't working, this is really challenging, I'm confronting myself maybe daily. And then you go to college or go into the professional world, and you're gonna find that you've already got kind of those first couple of years of like, what's going on and how do I fit in here? You may have a little bit more solid footing going into that.
The way that being a writer impacts my academic world is far greater than I would expect. My skills in trigonometry, I've been able to learn how to take a step back and figure out from process step by step, left to right, and really see story arc where it's like, this happens, and then so on. Everything is a story, even trigonometry.
Dance definitely carries over into academics. Just the tenacity and the willingness to push yourself when it's hard and when it kind of sucks.
I know so many doctors who play the piano. I know so many scientists who play music. But besides the neurological benefits is the relationship to spirit. Spirit in music really comes from the combination of rhythm and notes and intention. That spirit, the spirit of play, you change the vibration in people's minds, you change their experience, you change their feelings, their emotional landscape. They don't see themselves as just doing a performance, you know, a trick. They see themselves as vital to our society's survival.
If I were at a different high school, I don't think I'd be too into self-reflection, like using art to bring the dark into the light.
I definitely would not be the person I am today without my community here in the dance department. They're my second family. These people are one of the reasons I continue to dance.
Without the student body and without the teachers and the faculty and the people who are around coming to the performances and donating, those are the people who really shape our school and who really bring the personality and the character and the beauty of the space alive.
Like, I started off as an optical engineer when I went to college.
Something very...
Many correlations.
I've worked with them before, and And then it also ties in with.
Apologize for the interruption.
I would say.
And I really appreciate that.
To practice music, you have to